No protests, no headlines, just empty hotel rooms and flights that never arrived. It started quietly. A few cancellations here, a few delays there. But by spring 2025, something had changed. The world didn't stop visiting the US because of price. They stopped because of pride. Because they felt something most Americans never saw coming. They felt unwelcome. At JFK and LAX, people with valid visas were detained, questioned, and in some cases, sent back. No reason, no apology, just turned away. CNN called it a sharp decline, but on the ground, it felt more like a disappearance. And this time, it wasn't just lost tourism dollars. It was something deeper, a fracture in trust. A silent judgment from the world that said, "You're not who we thought you were." So they didn't boycott. They didn't march. They just left and never came back. But here's what really happened. It wasn't the policy. It was the treatment. In 2025, stories began to surface. Travelers arriving at U.S. airports, visas in hand, only to be pulled aside, questioned for hours, and told, "Return to your country." No warning, no cause, just suspicion and silence. Reuters reported a 31-year-old engineer from Berlin who had booked a conference trip to New York. He cleared his embassy interview, cleared customs in Frankfurt, but at JFK he was detained and deported within 12 hours. No explanation given. Another woman from Japan, planning to visit her sister in California, described being escorted by 3 officers, then sent back on the same plane she arrived on, in tears. And these weren't isolated cases. Across Reddit, travel forums, and news wires, the same phrase kept surfacing: felt like a criminal. This wasn't about immigration enforcement. These were tourists, visitors who had trusted us enough to spend time and money here. And we sent them home, humiliated. Because when the welcome mat becomes a checkpoint, the message isn't just about security. It's about who's no longer welcome. And that's where the damage truly began. They didn't cancel in protest. They just stopped showing up. In May 2025, Canada quietly updated its travel advisory, urging caution when visiting the United States. No big announcement, no press conference, just a shift in tone. From routine to wary, the message landed. By summer, Canadian tourism to the U.S. had dropped sharply. According to Reuters, Air Canada suspended multiple cross-border flights due to soft demand. Popular routes to New York, Chicago, and Miami were suddenly gone. No anger, no outrage, just absence. Influencers who once vlogged from LA were now sipping wine in the Algarve. Travel agencies began pushing packages to Spain and Costa Rica, not because they were cheaper, but because they felt better. Because this wasn't about safety, it was about sentiment. Canada, arguably America's most trusted partner, had lost something. Not money, not time, but faith. And that quiet exit, it said more than any speech could. Because when your best friend starts avoiding you, the world takes notice. And that's where the damage truly began. At first it was just noise on the news. A new tariff here, a retaliatory tax there, another round of negotiations gone cold. But while politicians argued, something quieter was unfolding. In airports, in embassies, and in family chat threads. The fallout from Trump's protectionist tariffs wasn't confined to factories and freight containers. It spread, like hairline cracks through glass, into human plans, relationships, and trust. CNN reported that by late 2025, travel from the European Union to the US had dropped sharply. The reasons? Economic tension, visa delays, uncertainty. People didn't know if they'd get through customs, or if their trip would be suddenly canceled due to a diplomatic flare-up. Even universities started to see changes. European students opted for Australia and Canada instead of US campuses. Some of these shifts didn't make headlines. They made cancellations, family reunions put on hold, conferences rerouted, millions in lost spending, not because of disinterest, but because of doubt. And that's where the damage truly began. This wasn't just about tourism. This was about brand America. Reuters cited Pew and Ipsos surveys showing a steep drop in global favorability toward the U.S. in 2025, especially among youth and first-time travelers. America once stood for possibility. Now it's seen by many as unpredictable. The planes didn't empty because of politics. They emptied because the feeling changed. And feelings are hard to win back. Because this wasn't a campaign. It was a slow erosion. One student decides to study in Australia instead. One family chooses Spain over California. One influencer says Bali feels more chill. And each small decision whispers the same thing. The U.S. doesn't feel like a sure bet anymore. Even among allies, there's caution. Even among admirers, there's pause. You don't need a boycott to break a bond. Just doubt. And doubt has already landed. Because soft power isn't measured in weapons or GDP. It's measured in sentiment. And when the sentiment shifts, the world follows. So where does that leave us? A country once seen as a dream, now quietly removed from travel lists, from graduation plans, from honeymoon destinations. You don't lose that kind of presence overnight, and you don't earn it back with press releases. Because this isn't just about policy. It's about presence. The way people feel when they see your flag at the airport. The way your name sounds when whispered in another language, with admiration or caution. The numbers were the symptom. The silence, that was the diagnosis. Trust left the room, and no one noticed. And maybe that's the story we'll have to live with. Not the collapse of tourism, but the quiet erosion of connection. Because in the end, a nation isn't just measured by what it builds, but by who still wants to visit when the shine wears off. Is this just a travel story, or something deeper about who we are becoming? Let us know what you think.